Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Network Merchandise Shop. Pick up your logo merchandise by heading over to abvnetwork.com, clicking on Shop, and start filling your basket today. We are also sponsored by the Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for something for yourself, a customized gift, or logoed items for your business gift shop, the Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebar2go.com. That's the number 2 in the Bar to Go. Don't forget our friends at Neely Family Distillery now ship their unique distilled spirits directly to you. To order yours, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. And now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today on the show, we're having a discussion about Booker's Bourbon. My name is Miss Beka Sue. Please join me in welcoming my co-host, Steve Akeley, along with our special guests, Tony Friend, Dana the Dreamer 6, Jason Bronner, and Will Whitfield.
Hey, gang, what's up?
Hey, what's happening?
Not much. We're going to have some fun today. We're going to be talking about Booker's Bourbon. I don't know. I think if you're a bourbon fan, that's got to be in the repertoire of things that you like. I can't imagine someone who's a true bourbon fan that doesn't like Booker's. I don't know. There's something special about it. So we'll talk about that after the break. For right now, though, Tony said there's something he wanted to talk about. What is that, Tony?
Yeah. So my question to everyone is, what's the worst thing you ever did as a child, and what was your punishment?
Okay. Worst. Oh gosh, Jason's going to be a special one here. I feel like he's got some good stuff. Yeah. Jason, do you want to kick it off, or you want to think about it?
Yeah. I mean, there's several stories, so I don't know if I want to wait and just like be a one-upper and top everybody's, but I'll just throw one little story out there that for some reason, me as a delinquent little kid was throwing rocks in this, that's how, we didn't have computers and barely had enough money for a bicycle, but whatever, we just fucking throw rocks. That's what we do.
Right.
And trains and cars and whatever. I didn't give a shit. So I'm in this lot. Will is dying over there. We would throw, so there was like this, like a construction trailer, like something that the supervisors worked out of that they would take on site to places. So we're in this empty lot. We're just chucking rocks at this thing, breaking the windows out of it because why not? It looked like it was abandoned to me.
Right.
Well, somebody comes out of the place of business and starts chasing us. And of course, I'm running towards the railroad tracks, which is our safe haven, and I could get anywhere from the railroad tracks, right? So I go down this path and trip and fall and lose my shoe. The dude just dragged me. Snatches me up. I'm like in 5th grade. And the dude snatches me up and dragging me back and sets me in like his little building or whatever. And I was like, well, I honestly thought it was abandoned, whatever. He calls the cops. So the cops, this is back in the day, they going to scare me, put me in the back of the car and drive me to the front of my house. And my parents, I was grounded for the whole summer. It was unbelievable. Like I got drugged in 5th grade to the front of I knocked on the front door. The cops delivered me to my parents, and it just wasn't good. And so, I've had a checkered past with the cops ever since.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those hot tubs make sense.
Yeah. I try to keep a low profile, but it doesn't work really.
Okay. All right. Dana, what's the worst thing you ever did, and what was your punishment?
Does like being a freshman count? Because I wrote a really nasty letter about how much I hated one of my teachers, and it landed me in alternative school.
Really?
It did.
Alternative school.
Yeah, but I got out 2 days early for good behavior, y'all.
Okay. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Jason and I grew up in a different era than the rest of the team here. I know that, like, if you misbehaved in class, when I went to school, they would literally put like a refrigerator box over you. Now, it wasn't just like a refrigerator box. It was designed for kids that were problems and troublesome during school, so they wouldn't interfere with others. You couldn't do that today. If you put like a refrigerator box over a kid's desk where they can't see anything but what's in the damn box, that school would be shut down. Oh my God. But I don't, Jason, did they have those big boxes at the school you went to?
Yeah, I mean,
Hell yeah, yeah, it was a thing.
I used to get those for Christmas. I mean,
They're like, we know you're going to use this, so here you go. You can personalize it if you want.
I'd make it into a castle or whatever. I'd cut windows in it, and
Oh yeah.
Actually, yeah, we had those.
The worst trouble I got in, I didn't get in too much trouble, but one time, and again, this comes down to saving face for your parents. Anytime where you fuck things up for your parents when you're 8 years old or something like that, they have to show that they can handle things. So we were at my cousin's house for Christmas. And, presents are all done and all that. And then you're just hanging out with your cousins and stuff. And we're in the basement. My cousin was 2 years older than me. He was a troublemaker. He's a bad influence. And for some reason, he goes over to his dad had a little workshop down there. And he goes over to the caulk gun and he gets out the caulk gun and he's just squirting a little bit of caulk on his hand and he's throwing it at my younger cousins. And he's like, do this. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. And he keeps doing it. And they're kind of running and yelling and he's not hitting any of them. And then he finally talks me into do it. So I do it. And I throw one all the way across the thing. And of course I hit, my cousin Sherry, she's in her, Christmas dress. And of course this caulk is on there. And then she starts screaming. I'm like, shh, don't say anything. Don't say anything. And, she goes running upstairs. And, and she's crying and her dress is ruined. Her mom's like, I think the dress is ruined. There's caulk on here. And, they said, who did this? And all she had to say was Steve did it. And my dad, soon as the S was out and Steve, he just starts running at me. And, you get the beating right in front of everyone back in those days. This was the 70s. It was the justice was taken out right there, right in front of me. And it's not at my house. So I don't get to go crying in my room or anything like that. There's no place for me to go after I get this beating in front of everybody. I just have to sit there and I'm crying in the living room. It's Christmas. It's just horribly wrong. So yes, that was the humiliation of everything that was involved with that was terrible. And yes, I did. My cousin probably threw 30 things of that caulk, but maybe he was purposely not trying to hit anyone. And I was dumb enough when I threw it, I actually hit someone. But yeah. Well, there you go. Will, anything, your worst thing you did, and what was the punishment? I got this like a therapy session for me. I haven't told that story ever.
Okay. First off, I wish they would go back to the 70s and the 80s. So growing up, I understand that. I got spanked at school. I got spanked that was the worst thing you could do is get in trouble at school. You get spanked by the principal. Then you get spanked at home because you were embarrassed parents for being in school. So if they call mom, like, okay, now you got to get spanked. Now you got to get spanked by dad because you ruined his day at work because mom had to call him at his job. Now it's like, so you bring back good memories, the therapy sessions, old memories, bad memories, good memories.
Right.
But it was a better time.
You think about that, and it's the worst thing that can happen to you. And it was just terrible on so many levels. Again, all my cousins are there, and I'm, crying and that, no place to go. And then I look back and I'm like, I didn't do that shit again. Let me tell you something. You take one beating in front of all your cousins and your uncles and your aunts and all that. You're not doing it again. It wasn't like, what's the second time that happened? No, I didn't do that shit anymore. I learned a lesson.
I will say my story has to do with some good friend of mine. So there was a network of people. We grew up, all my best friends. I was in the basement and we were having a sleepover. So it was a bunch of the boys together. We all slept over. So it was like a summer sleepover. And we were playing soccer in the basement. And I kicked the ball and broke the window in the basement window.
just fucking around doing stuff kids do.
Just stupid stuff. I mean, it was stuff we do. I didn't know. And so the dad came down, and to this day we still keep in touch. All the family. It's like, who did it? And he never asked directly me. It's like, okay, this is your house. He was speaking to my buddies. This is your room. You need to control it. This is your fault. So now I kicked this ball. Then this is the middle of the winter. And he's like, okay, I'm not replacing this window until you pay for it. So they legitimately had to sleep in their room without a window for nearly half the summer. I'm sorry, half the winter until I paid for the window. My dad was like, I'm not paying for it. You got to pay for it. And so I had to do side jobs and little odd jobs just to get enough cash to pay for the window of my buddies who had no window in the winter and they're freezing. I can remember talking to them on the phone because you didn't have cell phones in Texas. Like, it's cold in my room, man. Like,
come on,
I'm working on it, bro. I'm working on it, man. I'm trying. So I would say that would be the worst thing I did was breaking the window of my buddies, two brothers' bedroom, and them having to sleep in there in the winter, and me knowing that I screwed it all up. But
that's classic. That's classic. Beka, how about you? It's interesting.
How do I pick? Probably the worst one for my parents. All right.
Right.
So my parents went out of town. They actually were going to my cousin Georgie's first wedding over in California. I would have been 15 at the time. In North Dakota, you can get your driver's license at 14 as long as you take driver's ed. So I already had my driver's license. And I was like one of the few friends that did have their driver's license. So I always drove. And there was a boy who was cute and he was having a party up at a lake up north of us. And I was like, well, let's drive up there. And so we were driving. I was going a little bit fast. I think I was going 80 in a 55. And I think I had drank one, like I didn't drink and drive, but I had one, some sort of like wine cooler.
Bartles and James.
Bartles and James. There you go. Strawberry daiquiri.
Yeah, so I had one wine cooler, and that was it because I was driving, and I was going 80 in a 55, and I get pulled over. And this is, the lake we're going to is like 2 hours away from home, and I'm probably like an hour and a half away from home at this point. And I get pulled over, and this cop is he's questioning me, and he's going to give me a ticket, obviously, for going 80 in a 55. And then he says, have you been drinking? And I'm like, no, that's just my lips, like my lip gloss that you're smelling or something like that. And he said that I had been drinking. I never even confessed to drinking or anything like that. And I never even got a breathalyzer or anything. And so I got a minor in consumption. I got a speeding ticket. And also I had scratched like how my age is. Like if you just like knock out a little bit of the 8, it made it look like I was like 18 as opposed to 15 on my ID. And so I also got tampering with a government document, which was my driver's license. And so he's going to take me to jail. And then he goes, I'm going to have to take you to jail. And I was like, well, my parents aren't here. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, they're in California. So, and I'm 15. So he was like, well, what am I supposed to do with you? And I was like, I don't know, just let me go home. And I had a few of my friends with me in the car. And so he let one of the other girls drive me home. I guess that they must have called my parents. So they're like at this wedding in California and find out that their daughter is a juvenile delinquent. And I had 3 different charges, which I actually got my license suspended, revoked, and canceled. 3 separate letters I got in the mail. And then luckily, when I went to my court date, the judge that I had was like literally one of the nicest judges in the state. He's this like old blind man. And he let me off with obviously all my license stuff, that was kind of just how it was until I got some things back. But he gave me 40 hours of community service. And so I went and worked at the Restore. So like a thrift store in my spare time, finishing up my community service. And my parents have probably never been more mad at me.
Okay. They were pretty mad at this.
This was their 15-year-old daughter. Like they're
out of town. It makes it even
they're
worse.
Out of town. I'm drinking and driving, which I was not drinking and driving. And that is the absolute truth. I had barely drank anything. And
wine coolers are bullshit.
Frankly, I think that the cop had actually just was digging. So yeah, they were not all too impressed with me at that point.
Tony, you asked the question, so I'm assuming there's a good story here. What happened with you?
Yeah, so I don't know if I can pick one, but I grew up in the 90s and it was kind of a transition period. We didn't have cell phones and all that. So like Jason, we did have a lot of rock fun. We had rock fights. We broke windows at abandoned places and whatnot. We had the cops call it on us and they brought us home and they got on their loudspeaker and said, "Hey, do you got any rocks in your pocket?" after dropping us off. You know, that was all kind of fun, but I don't know if I have a worst one, but my favorite one was when I was about, I think 4 or 5 years old. My little brother was walking upstairs and I was at the top of the stairs and I just decided to pull down my pants and pee all over him. And he just stood there. He just stood there crying and I got my ass whooped. I was a pretty bad kid, so my nickname as a kid was Spanky because I was always getting in trouble and getting my ass whooped.
I'll just take a whiz on this kid. So yeah. Perfect. Yeah. And you know, you can't even explain why you did that, can you? I mean, it was just
felt like it.
Right. Just felt like it. Yeah. So kids, there you go. All right. Well, on that note, it is time to drink. What is everyone drinking? Let's start this time with Beka. She looks like she's ready to go. What do you got?
I've got some Buzzard's Roost.
Okay.
Yeah, damn.
I've got the Toasted Barrel, the straight rye whiskey.
Wow. Okay.
Sweet.
Let's see. I have to set it down here.
Okay. No,
Not
nothing. Nothing going on there. Will, what do you got?
Well, I am taking a tote off of Old Barrel, Copper Tongue. It's my second pull off of this. So we'll see how this goes.
Okay. Also very strong. Still not as good as the first time, but very strong. It's going to be in the mix here. You've definitely got the lead right now. Dana, what do you got?
Well, I guess since we're talking about family, I was given this bottle by my uncle because my grandfather passed this year. And it's a very well loved bottle of Elmer T. Lee. So let's see.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, nope.
Well, that was decent. It was decent, but not enough to take over Will, though. He's got the lead. What do you got, Jason?
Steve, I don't know that this has ever been done on the show, but as you know, I've said I've drank about 20, some odd different bourbons today. And I'm going with a bottle of Casamigos tequila.
Okay.
Oh.
Have we ever done tequila on the show?
One other time, Corazon, the George C. Stagg barrel finished one. That's it. That's the only other tequila that's ever made an appearance.
Well, this is just Casamigos Silver.
Okay.
That was it.
And not enough to take over Will. Will still got the lead. What do you got there, Mr. Tony?
Well, Miss Beka Sue stole my thunder. I thought no one ever heard of this, but I got a little Buzzard's Roost single barrel from Total Wine.
Okay.
Straight rye whiskey, barrel proof.
Looks like a new bottle, though. So
that's a good one.
I just picked it up yesterday.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, well, we have new leadership at the top of the board there. It'll be Tony takes it over. That's going to be tough, if not impossible to beat. I've got Booker's. At least I did show theme here. It's a Kentucky Chew. So let's see what we got. Not enough. Bassy and slushy, but not enough to take over what Tony had going on.
Tony did, yeah. Good job.
When he gets it, cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about Booker's. We'll do that in just a few. Hello, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network, and let's talk for a moment about our sponsors, the people that make this show happen. First up is our friends at Moonshine University. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification at their office in Louisville. The information I learned through lead instructor Colin Blake and their team there is something that I continue to draw upon frequently in my role at the ABV Network. It truly is the standard of establishing a benchmark of knowledge of the bourbon industry. From history to production to brands and people, it's all there. Check out their full listing of programs, including Executive Bourbon Steward certification, production classes if you're considering starting a distillery, and much more at moonshineuniversity.com. I also want to talk about Neely Family Distillery. Back in May of 2018, I met Royce Neely at Limestone Branch's Craft Bourbon Festival. It ended up not only being the start of a great friendship, I started to truly learn about what makes craft whiskey so amazing. You see, I had been a bourbon drinker for over 30 years at that point, and like many people who had been drinking bourbon a long time, I was hard-coded into thinking big bourbon was where it was at and craft was on a journey to get there. Spending time with Royce and learning the things he does to make his whiskey taste better started to really get me to appreciate how things like sweet mashing, open top fermentation, pot distillation, and the grains you are using not only makes your product taste better coming off the still, but also out of the barrel as well. I still love heritage brands and they make up a bulk of my collection. But when you find a craft distiller that is truly dedicated to the craft of distilling, you are drinking some of the best whiskey out there on the market today. That's exactly what's happening at Neely Family Distillery today. Check them out on the web at neelyfamilydistillery.com, or better yet, stop by and see them at their distillery in Sparta, Kentucky. And now, back to the show.
Hey, this is Paul Russo, and you're listening to The Bourbon Daily.
Welcome back to the Bourbon Daily. Today we're talking about Booker's Bourbon.
Yes, we are. So Booker's, I don't know. I feel like Booker's is special in the world of bourbon. The fact that, it comes out 4 times a year and, we've got the fun names now. It wasn't always named. It was always been batch, but, it had a number and things like that. But now we've got the actual names to these. So like this one I'm drinking is the Kentucky Chew. And I think it gave them a little bit of personality and helps you remember, just like when we talk about gift shop picks that are named barrels and things like that. I think it helps you remember over time the different iterations of Booker. So I think that's been a great addition to this lineup for sure.
Have you looked at all the names before, Steve?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I think that my favorite one, and I'm looking at them right now, is maybe, I think No Secret, but No spelled N-O-E.
Yes.
I really enjoy that name on it. Oh, No Hard Times. No Hard Times. That's also, it's a good one, but they have some really cool names on here.
Yeah. Yeah. The new one being a tag-along batch. So you think tag-along. Immediately I thought it was going to be dedicated to Freddie and doing things with Booker No, but it was Fred tagging along with Booker No, I believe was the story there. So yeah, interesting.
Also the highest proof in their lineup.
Yes. Yeah.
Beams lineup, but I think the highest, let's see, what's the highest one that they did? I think there's one at 130. Maybe I'm a liar. Oh, the very first one was at 130.8.
130.8. So yeah, they're usually somewhere in the 120s, a mid to higher 120s, I think is typically where we're going to find them. So,
yep.
But yeah, it's one of the interesting things, to see what they're coming out at. Tony, what do you think of Booker's?
My first experience with Booker's was actually when I found the Bourbon Daily, I think in January 2017, when they were talking about raising the price.
Oh, yeah.
So I was learning about Booker's at that time, and my friend's birthday was coming up, and I found it at Costco at the regular price. So I ran out and grabbed it, bought it for his birthday, and we both thought it was really good, and we've been both fans of it ever since then.
Yeah. Those days were something. It's definitely gone up over time. So you used to be able to, I mean, $50 was kind of the regular, and now I don't know if you see it in the 70s, you're getting a pretty good price, and some liquor stores are at 100, a little bit over 100. So yeah, it just depends on where you get it. Jason, you have such a long history with bourbon. I'm sure that Booker's has been on your radar since you started this thing at Bourbon's Bistro. So tell us about your thoughts on Booker's.
Yeah, I mean, always have loved Booker's. Never got to meet him, which was I kind of hated that. Got into it a little bit too late, but I've drank with Fred. I've drank with Freddie. Just great people. I think one of the best thing about Booker's, and it's named for Booker, is that if you haven't heard it, and Steve, I hate to advertise this other thing, but there's a podcast out. It's called The Moth Hour, and Freddie talks about being Booker's son, and it's just, if you haven't heard that, it's unbelievable. It's okay. Just it really tells what kind of person Booker was,
right?
And then that carries over to me, as we talk about, to the whiskey, because what a great person, and just to be, his whiskey brand is iconic. So, and if anybody's out there that drinks it, he was just, and I never got to meet him, but to hear this podcast, you feel like you know him because he's just that type of guy.
Sounds like, what's it called again? The Moth? What?
The Moth Hour. Yeah.
The Moth Hour. Okay. And when Jason says Freddie, by the way, because he has a personal relationship with Fred, who we always called Freddie.
Right.
Yeah. But now for bourbon fans, when you hear Freddie, you instantly think of Fred No's son, Freddie No. But no, when Jason says Freddie, he's actually talking about Fred No. So you're talking about a Fred interview.
Right. And we called, I used to call Fred Freddie, I guess.
Right.
Until Freddie came along, because and I'm still getting mixed up. But
no, I know it's once you do that, it's hard to break that. So if it was just a thing that you did, you called him Freddie, that was normal. Yeah, it's hard to then suddenly change now that someone who's called Freddie comes into the mix. So
love both of those guys, and always wanted to meet Booker, but really learned a lot about Booker through this podcast that Fred does, and it just, you feel like you know him. You feel like that you were good friends with him, and then he was on Emerald at one point. There's an episode which I watched. He was on Emerald and talking about Booker's, and just you got to see that he's just a great character, and the whiskey follows him. You know what I mean? It's a great whiskey after a great guy. So,
right.
That's kind of my take on it altogether.
My God, we started talking about Booker's. All of a sudden, Bronner sobers up and is coherent. We've had him stumbling through two shows, but we get on the topic of Booker's. All of a sudden, he's good. So yeah. That's insightful. Okay, what else do you guys like about Booker's?
I remember the first time that I had saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, it was so elegant, and it's a pretty little box. And so, I picked me up one and brought it home, and the box was good, but the bourbon was great. And
right.
I haven't been able to find it around here since, and it pisses me off. But yeah, it is one of those ones it's kind of like your diamond if you find it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's sometimes when you're just in the mood for those really high proof ones, and Booker, fulfills that for you. So it's one that I definitely enjoy. Will, how about you? Are you a Booker's fan?
I am a Booker's fan. It's funny you say that. It's the one bourbon that closely reminds me to my association with Scotch. And here's why. When I first had Booker's in the box, it was so elegant and everything. And the first time I poured it, it was just super spicy. Like, what is happening to me? But after doing some research on it and trying it with some water and then a cube of ice and then actually learning the different profiles of it, it made me appreciate bourbon. So it was my gateway to bourbon. After our interview and conversations, like, okay, there's a different flavor profile with every type of bourbon there is, different notes, different tastes. And so I got a special connection with Booker because after having it, it made me appreciate the flavors that come with bourbon. So now it's one of my favorites. I have one boxed up, but it's the one thing that connects me with my take on Scotch. Like, because if you take something,
when I met you, you were Scotch only. You weren't a bourbon guy at all. Now I feel like bourbon might be number one. I don't know. I'm an outsider looking in. You tell me, is bourbon number one now or Scotch?
Okay, we'll put it this way. I've packed everything up. I've probably got somewhere around 20 to 25 bottles of bourbon and one bottle of Scotch.
There you go, folks.
It's happened.
yeah. You denied that would ever happen. You fought it, and now you're just like,
it is what it is. I can remember our conversation and you telling me like, there's this whole world, Will, once you get into it and understanding bourbon, that you're going to appreciate from it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try it. And then it was like baby steps.
Right.
And I can remember it's like, holy cow, I'm missing so much. And now when I go look for the unicorn, I'm not looking for a Scotch unicorn. I'm looking for a bourbon. I'm looking for like, okay, what haven't I had tried or what's going on? So
that's cool.
And Booker was the actual transition to that. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Beka, any other last thoughts on Booker's before we close this one out?
I hadn't gotten to have a lot of Booker's being up in North Dakota. But the one that I did find was I had found, and obviously from being on here, that's where I knew to look for it, but I found the Blue Night batch. That was the first Booker's I ever got to have, which I thought was pretty cool. I actually still have some of that left.
That's cool. Yeah.
And now, kind of a cool thing. We got a present from Freddie, but the youngest one,
right.
For our wedding. And we got a bottle of Booker's from Freddie and Kay. So that was
your wedding gift.
It was actually, I hate to say it, but the coolest wedding present we got.
Not too shabby, right?
Yeah.
Very, very cool stuff. All right, there you go. There's Booker's. It's one of our favorites. Comes out to 4 times a year. Get out there, find yourself a bottle if you haven't tried it already. It's good stuff. We'll wrap this one up as we always do by talking about where people can find us. Dana the Dreamer 6. We'll start with you.
You can find me as Dana the Dreamer 6 on both Instagram and Twitter.
There you go. You finally got that all together. It's all one. Yeah. Thanks to me. Another
it really is.
Yeah. Used to have these other ones, you'd forget what it was and all this, and it would be confusing. And now it's just Dana the Dreamer 6. Perfect. Tony, how about you? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at glassofwhiskey86.
All right, Jason.
I am on Instagram, Bourbon Redneck and Bourbon's Bistro, and Buzzard Drews can be found on all the media platforms.
All right, Miss Beka Sue.
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Miss Beka Sue, 1K, no C's.
All right, for me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. The important website to always remember, though, is abvnetwork.com. Please check that one out because everything that we do is out there. Previous shows, blogs, so much more, abvnetwork.com. Ms. Beka Sue, anything else to say before we get out of here?
I'd just like to remind the audience to please give us a 5-star review that includes comments. It helps new people find the show, which is very important to us. If you like what we're doing, we ask you please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/the ABV Network.
All right, great job today, gang. Fridays, we'll have a brand new show for you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Until then, take care, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
See y'all.
Peace. Before we finish the show, let's chat for a moment about Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you just want to experiment on a small scale on the stove in your kitchen or try your hand at a bigger setup in the backyard, Moonshine Still Pro can help. They have different still offerings as well as accessories and even grains from Goldstone Mill to help you make whiskey on par with what you get from your favorite distillery. They can even assist with a DIY still project by supplying some of the parts you can't make yourself. Check them out at moonshinestillpro.com. At the ABV Network, we're lucky enough to have some great friends. Amongst those friends is the Goldstein family, owners of Goldstone Mill. Goldstone Mill is a full-service mill offering a variety of heritage and heirloom grains. Their unique approach of working with mills around the country allows them to offer you affordable shipping opportunities to meet the unique needs of your distillery or brewery. They will consult with you to ensure the grains you are selecting meets the unique flavor profiles you are looking for. If you are a home brewer or distiller and you're looking for the grains that your local distillery or brewery uses, Goldstone Mill is the place to look. Check them out on the web at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or shoot them an email at hello@goldstonemill.com.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.